I just told him one day, I'd like to start my own clothing brand.
If you know about Ostrano, the brand, you will know they were very good.
I mean, we also had an experience where we're like, okay, dude, this was a wrong call.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Breaking Uneven podcast. We love to talk shop, uncover the beauty of failures, and play a few games. Today we have with us Kabir Sachar and Pranay Gurnani, the co-founders of Ostrano. How are you all feeling?
Great, glad to be here.
We're doing all good, and cheers for having us, guys. And before we begin, we have a little something for you guys.
Oh.
So,
Oh, thank you.
Guys, this is the drum.
Thank you so much.
Even though I've been...
Please have a look, hope you like
jacket
it.
that you're wearing, which I've been asking you for.
No, it's not. It is not.
No, okay.
Oh my god, they have like breaking uneven written on it.
Really cool.
Cool.
Have a look inside the Ziploc.
Oh, wow. So there's a white hoodie.
Sick.
Okay, you know what? Give us a second. We're just going to put these on. Okay, so thank you for having us
Yeah, oh my
in
god.
Ostrano. I love it.
It
and-
fits great.
Yeah, I have a feeling I will be wearing this more often. So anyway, coming to the two of you, Kabir,
Yes.
you went to university in the UK, came back to India, did a bit of real estate, and now Ostrano.
Yes.
Pranay, after university, you explored wooden flooring, coffee, acting, and much more, but came to Ostrano. And since both of you all are here today because of Ostrano, let's get into a little bit of what you all do.
Okay, so we're gonna play a quick little game with y'all, which is called the Twitter Pitch Challenge. Twitter is known for its 280 character limit on every tweet, which sometimes makes it a little difficult to convey your thoughts. It takes about 20 seconds to speak 280 characters, and we want to transfer this challenge to the both of you to explain to us Ostrano in 20 seconds. But we won't make it easy. You also have to use one emoji and one hashtag in your tweet.
I'll take one by one.
Alright, cool. I can take this first.
Okay, so we have a stopwatch for you.
Alright, can I get 5 seconds to collect my thoughts?
Sure. 5, 4,
Alright, cool. Let's go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Ostrano is a clothing brand that focuses on the construction and architecture of all our products and the pieces we make. And in a graphic heavy world with someone who's focusing on the silhouette and the making. So construction plus architecture equals to emoji, hashtag Ostrano.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, you got it.
Sick. Okay, so now your turn.
Ready?
3, 2, 1, go.
Essentially, Ostrano is an everyday wear brand. I mean, the goal is to make something that for every occasion. Ostrano focuses on super high quality. Everything is intentional, from every stitch to every cut. One emoji, right? I'll give that the ace of spades and the tie. Or maybe just the t-shirt.
And
Yeah.
hashtag.
Hashtag construction.
Sweet, you went over time, but it's fine.
But yeah, no, it's nice that both of you at least touch different.
Yeah, I get an extra point, so
Why did you get an extra point?
because I was in
You're
that.
not competing with each other, there's no hamper for
I'm
that.
just saying. I get an extra percentage.
So before we come to Ostrano, let's talk about the two of you. You all have been best friends since childhood, and now you all are starting a business together. First question, did the idea come first, or did you all wanting to start a business together come first?
It was just super spontaneous, just one fine day we were sitting in my hall in the night. I think my parents were out, he had come over for dinner. We were just talking about general business stuff. I was telling him how I was thinking of leaving what I'm doing right now. And he at the time was figuring stuff and around real estate, as you said. It was and I've always been super passionate about fashion, like dressing up, wearing good clothes, and this guy's been the design geek as always. So just talking and super spontaneous, we just came up with it like, what? I just told him one day, I'd like to start my own clothing brand. And he's like, let's do it. And that's how we began. We took our first meeting the next day.
Damn.
The idea came first about what to do before just saying, okay, let's the two of us come together and do something. For me personally, I think back when the COVID lockdown was on, I wanted to do something regarding clothing at the time as well. That idea didn't come into fruition. The seed was still planted, and then over a period of time, I guess that seed grew a little bit, and then we actually made the effort to make it happen.
Since it's been over a year of you all working together now,
Yeah.
tell us about the worst argument or fight you've had till now.
If I like something and he doesn't like it, and then he likes something and I don't like it, how do we decide whether we're going to make it or not? That's like the most basic answer. Because one of us has to compromise at the point, or we try to tweak both those designs to somewhat meet the other person's liking and then move ahead with that. But it's either that or it's been a lot of arguments over one of us, particularly me, having having an all-nighter and then not having a regular sleep schedule. But I guess that just keeps. I mean, when you're creating, I think you just do whatever you feel like doing.
He's taken the
You
you know,
lose.
creative people sleep late. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, now we've had decent ground. We've got an office space of our own now, and it's been great. We're getting our, everything's coming together now. It's just been a week or two. Our website is open, so the traction's been pretty decent.
Exciting things. And I feel like coming now to Ostrano and how y'all started, we want to know like a step-by-step process. So if, for example, someone wants to start a D2C brand, like how to get started, and we want to talk about everything up until the launch, given that's what you've spent the last year doing. So to start with, how did you come up with the name Ostrano?
actually, we actually got to our designs before we got to any of our branding and our name. We spent a lot of time deciding what to call ourselves. And we had we had two rules, in fact. One, that it should flow. The fewer the syllables, the better. And two, we needed .com domain. And so we got to Ostrano slightly later on, as I said.
We had a couple names in mind, but I think Ostrano was the most, as he said, easy to flow with.
There's two simple ideas or concepts that we use, and one of them is an octagon, 8-sided shape, and that's just a simple idea behind all our products. Everything resembles an octagon. Everything inspired.
I mean, in some form, the stitching, the cuts will have an octagon.
Yes, everything is inspired by an octagon.
What you all have worn right now.
The second idea is an oyster, right? An oyster is just something you open up. Once you open an oyster, you see a pearl inside, right? And that pearl is the thing that you actually desire, the thing that you actually want.
Yeah.
So we believe packaging is essentially just like an oyster, right? Like when you receive a packet and you open it, the item that you actually wanted, the item that you purchased, was sent to you, whatever, that is the pearl that's inside. And that's the idea behind packaging in general. So when you take oyster, which is packaging, and octagon, which is product, put them together, maybe mess around with a couple languages and take the first half, second half, you eventually read Ostrano.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
So you said that you started with the design part of things before you came to the name.
Mm-hmm.
So was this like the octagon side of things part of like the design before the name? And like how did you reach that? Like what was the inspiration to have octagon part of it? Does it improve the design?
Right. So we were inspired by American football jerseys. American football jerseys are made slightly differently, stitched differently, in fact, to a regular sporting jersey in anything. We're creating designs and mock-ups for that, eventually fine tweaking it here and there, etc., etc. And we reached a final product design that didn't resemble anything to do with an American football jersey, but just had like an outline or like a silhouette of an octagon. And so we just held on to it, and we decided that's our identity. And another cool thing with that is that I think with Ostrano, what we really achieved, I think this is the one thing I'm the most proud of, to be fair, is that I can challenge you that if you have 10 plain black t-shirts without logos, without any branding on it, you wouldn't know what is what. You wouldn't know your favorite brand is what from those 10.
Unless at least there's light shining on it so you can get a sense of the fabric.
Not even about the fabric, it's about how unique our stitching is. I mean, the goal was to make something that can stand out even with similar looking things around it. Where like he said, if you place an Ostrano plain black t-shirt and you place probably another brand's 9 t-shirts around it, you'll be able to tell what Ostrano is out of all of them, because it's all because of the stitching detail and how everything is so planned. Every cut, every stitch.
I think the number one thing that differentiates us from other brands is the design that goes in our shoulder design. And I mean, we're all wearing something Ostrano, so we all have that shoulder design. I'm unsure the camera will catch it, but if you see it, but we don't have circular shoulders, so we have like a small pointed triangle-ish thing on our shoulder. So that's essentially. So you will see someone wear a plain T-shirt, won't see any logos, won't see any branding. Like even if you don't end up seeing any of that, you would know it's not. If you know about Ostrano, the brand, you will know they're wearing Ostrano.
But do you need to, like, if it's a black t-shirt, do you need to differentiate it? Like, the reason why someone would wear plain black tee is because it's an easy choice, right?
Right.
And there's so many people I know personally
Right.
that just wear black t-shirts because they're like, I don't need to think about anything. So the idea is that a product that needed to be differentiated?
The goal wasn't to make it differentiate. The goal is across every Ostrano garment, now and even in the future. It's just to add a unique design philosophy. It's a part of our design.
Yeah,
It's a way of creating, I guess, community.
It's to make it our way.
Yeah.
You know, everything we do is because we want to make it our way. It might
The black t-shirt example was a bit of an odd example.
no, I think it still applies. I think I mean, Anuj and I have been friends for the longest time, and we both have we both enjoy our solid, minimal clothing, and so a lot of that stemmed from that, and it doesn't matter what the item is. It can be a plain black t-shirt. It can be like a really, I don't know, something
It could
really
be a hoodie. It could be a white hoodie.
or hoodie
whatever.
or something else something completely different, right? But the idea of having a different shoulder design is that it's clear identity. It is branding without conventional branding. You know, we don't want to create an identity with logos, typefaces, phrases, or any kind of graphics, right? We don't create an identity with them. We create an identity with the detailing of our clothing, the shoulder design, the stitching, all of that. And if you know of Ostrano, you will know an Ostrano product right away without seeing any logos, without seeing any label.
That's good. So I think
Yeah.
initially it started with that conversation in your hall where you want to start
Yeah.
a fashion brand. Then it's going to go to what is it going to stand for? Like what's the design language and what are you all essentially conceptualizing? And then it went to like, okay, fine, this is the ethos behind it. What name is going to work for a brand like this? After that comes potentially like building a website. Is that how it went?
So when we first set out to create a clothing brand, or like to create a brand essentially, we had a completely different idea in our head. We wanted to build something completely different. And over a period of time, we pivoted,
A lot.
significantly. And like I said, we ended up somewhere where we would never have reached. Like we never
Why
have
did you
thought.
pivot? Why did you pivot?
So we pivoted because of multiple reasons, right? First, we wanted to build an identity. Let's say we want to build an identity behind a single fabric, for example. We want to be a brand that only makes this fabric and then has all items, but we just use that fabric. So that's our identity. We pivoted because you're like, okay, this might be good for one thing, but might not apply to something else. That's one of the reasons. Number two, cost, right? Essentially, we're in India. We service only in India right now, and we also wanted to position ourselves from a price point perspective in a certain segment, the segment that we're in right now, and to use like some things which is not have made sense essentially. At the end of the day, like for you to continue, we want to create the best things that we do. We want to tell our story, but in order to be able to do that, we still need to have a sustainable business at the end of the day, right? You're a brand, but you're also a company, you're also a business. If we can't keep that side running, if we can't make the numbers make sense, we can't continue designing, we can't continue creating, we can't continue telling our story. So essentially that. So we made changes to our model, and because the changes we made to our model, we also made changes to our products and our offerings, and then that caused pivots along the way. And I'm sure we were exposed to more things the more we learn. So I have a sports management background. He has a management sciences background, and none of us even knew about any of these fabrics, about designing. We didn't know any of that. So when we got into this, we took more meetings, we met more people, used our networks, and we learned more and more. And then the more you learn, the more you're exposed to, right? So you wouldn't know something's out there until you've seen it. Once you've seen it, you know it, and then that changes the way you make your decisions.
There's a saying in the field of science: for every 5% of the world that you explore, there's another 95% that you find out is unexplored.
Oh no, it's been a great learning journey. I mean, we learn something new every single day.
Since a large part of the pivot so far has been a design-led decision,
Yeah.
right? And obviously, I'm sure Pranay, you were also involved in the designing process in the earlier stages. But since he's the design geek, as you mentioned, in those stages, what else was important? Like now, obviously, you're working towards figuring out what the clothes need to be, but at the same time, there's a bunch of other stuff that you could look into.
Other than the designing, to be fair, is like probably the quickest thing out of everything else, because you can lock yourself in your room one night, stay up all night. You can have a full product catalog, right, in the morning. That's the easy part, to make the design actually work, to produce it, prototype it, see if it fits, and how you want it to fit. That is.
So what happens? You've designed it, right? Now let's talk about the next step.
What are the other activities?
So we made one thing very clear to ourselves earlier, that we will not just make something because we want to make it. We will make it if we find the right things to make it. Our first step always before design was fabric. Can we find a nice fabric that we want to wear? Can we find?
I want to stop you right there. For fabric, how did you find it? Was it like India Mart?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So like,
Not at all.
okay.
I mean,
Where did you find like a fabric? This thing like.
Manufacturers fabric.
Fabric.
I mean,
How do you find a supplier?
when it's come to our, the vendors we worked with,
Yeah.
we've been super blessed. I just sat down with my dad one day and I'm like, okay, I want to start a clothing brand. How do I go about it? Do you have any input for this? He's like, yeah, sure. I mean, turns out the person we acquire a fabric from the manufacturer was someone in his circle. So we just
Okay.
refer to them.
Got it.
And again, we're blessed. We're very grateful for this. Our first meeting, we knew we want to work with these guys.
That's truly
Yeah,
like
this is-
rare to
it was
find
super-
someone.
It is insane, because we obviously saw different fabric manufacturers and vendors. We saw different like garment manufacturers, and the very first one for each of them is the one we ended up with like 6 months later. And
But why? For
So-
example, you mentioned that the first fabric manufacturer also was the one you all went ahead with. Why?
It's because he had a variety of everything, and like I said, when we began, we were keen on one kind of material. And we are using that material across most of our garments. That's Supima cotton. He was I think primarily the main person in Bombay doing it at the time.
I think with fabric is that the number one, I think the best way to decide what fabric we're going to move ahead with. So to have a benchmark, right? So we obviously saw items in our own wardrobe that we said, okay, we would like to make something like this. But I think the best way to decide what fabric you want to do is to not read any of the specifications of the fabric. Maybe you want to know how much the shrinkage is, right? Because cotton will shrink, and that does like impact your costs later on. But I think the best way to decide what fabric is, don't read it off the paper. Just hold it in your hand, and then the look and feel of it is what matters the most, right? Does it feel nice when you touch it? Can you wear it? Can it touch your skin and not irritate you? And how does the light reflect off the fabric? Does it have a shine on it? Does it not have a shine on it? And then different processes that you can do later on to change the texture and then the surface feel of the fabric. So essentially, yeah, we just went to the fabric vendor. We touched like 100 different fabrics and decided, okay, that's the one for the t-shirts, and then that's the one for the hoodies, and then that's the one for the crop tops, and that's it. And that's essentially what we did.
I'd like to add, hoodies was never part of the plan. We discovered the fabric, and that's when, like, okay, we can
Yeah,
make
so,
hoodies out of this.
yeah, exactly. So going back to like what I said earlier, right? We said we always start with fabric. Can we get a nice fabric? Fabric is what it's essentially the seed of it all, right? Is this something that we would want to put effort into making and like giving people the exposure, right? Is this something we want to show people? And only once we get that, then we're like, okay, fine. This is a great fabric. Let's design something around it. So we won't like that. The hoodie Anuj is wearing, or the crop top you're wearing, the t-shirts Pranay is wearing. We wouldn't make this in any other fabric. We made it this way because we got this fabric for it.
I think one really interesting thing of this conversation was that, a lot of times now, given that we have access to the internet, like you try and find people online, being like, okay, like, is there a manufacturer for this, or is there someone for that? And the way that he said, like, okay, fine, it was like through family. I think just speaking to people around you and asking, I think you get better vendors, at least like from what I've
Oh, I
experienced.
think
so
word
far.
of mouth is
Yeah.
the way to go with this.
Yeah, like anything that you want to start, like a lot of time, I just go directly to like either LinkedIn, India Mart, or just
Yeah.
Googling it, being like, okay, who's in this industry?
Yeah.
But a lot of it might not be structured, and a lot of good people might not just come up there. So it's like, okay, find like people that have previously worked with them, and if you can speak to
100%,
people,
yeah.
just like, I think even talk it into existence and then talk to people around, you get a lot more.
Right.
out
So
of it.
yeah, even in like how most industries, but like even in clothing, I think India is pretty unorganized.
Yeah.
And I think word of mouth is the best way to do it, right? Like that's to know trust and to know how trustworthy someone can be. I think word of mouth is like the go-to thing.
Tell me this now. Fine, you found a supplier. You've chosen to trust the supplier, but what makes you trust them? Because again, like everyone is not running a business for the good of the earth and all of that. At the end of the day, everyone wants to make their margin. Right?
Yeah.
There's also MOQs. There's also, they know the fact that y'all are new in this space.
100%.
Y'all don't have a textile certification.
Yeah.
So what made you trust your suppliers?
Honestly, we just bet on people over here. Again, we've also worked with, different products have different manufacturers. I mean, like the bottoms are different, tops are different.
Of course, yeah.
Honestly, you just bet on the person. I mean, we also had an experience where we're like, okay, dude, this was a wrong call. But most of it has just worked out in our
Tell us
favor.
about it.
So
What
we-
happened? Why was something the wrong?
So obviously, right, like when you start a business, you see what's the cheapest way to do it, and right,
No, for sure.
yeah. So what's the cheapest way to do it? So that's why you go see different fabric vendors, you go see different manufacturers, and then we had this. So in the testing out, so how do you test a manufacturer? You just tell them, okay, make me one of these, right? Make me a sample, and so we did that, and actually we wanted to do that, and the guy just like we gave him fabric, we paid him, and he ghosted us for a while, for a good while, and then we showed up at his office, like I think a month after we asked for a
Oh, we
sample.
just walked in.
we just walked in. And
I was actually off work for a month due to some medical reasons, and the second I recovered because I couldn't get out of bed. So the second I was ready to go, the first thing I've done is picked him up and we've gone to his office.
Yeah, we went, and he wasn't there, and his. And
Oh, and we waited for an hour.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
I'll never forget that.
His wife was there, and we waited for an hour, and the guy didn't show, and we left. And then we get a call from him, I think like a week later, saying that, oh, I had some emergency, whatever. And your samples were done last week only, I'm just sending them. We still didn't get them. Cut to the next day, we had a fight with him over the phone, and then we received our samples, but we realized he never really made them because they were all half-stitched.
Oh, and I've been hearing the last 5 days before we landed up at his office, so garment is on the machine. That's all I heard. It was super funny. Coming down to MOQs, something you asked us about. That is where it gets tricky sometimes because even in our scenario, we didn't want to make. I mean, we've made a lot of stock. I mean, we know it's pushing out well. Touch wood. But in an ideal scenario, MOQ can be an issue for someone, a newbie in the space. Because it needs to be viable for the manufacturer too. And finding the right manufacturer who will probably meet that customized MOQ isn't as easy. We met like a midpoint. It wasn't too much, it wasn't too less. So we were kind of okay with it.
In terms of like MOQs and all, it's definitely difficult because I feel like, again, you start off with a smaller quantity and the best manufacturers don't want to work for the small quantity. So then it's like finding good manufacturers that are happy to do the quantity.
Yeah.
Like every time I reach out to someone for anything like packaging, for example, which I guess we'll come to soon, I'm like, right now it's this much, an X quantity, but like I'll give you a bulk order soon so that they get a little interested in like
You have
even
to,
having a
yeah,
conversation with me.
Oh no, you
Even-
got to sell yourself.
Even when you make samples with people, you have to tell them, okay, just make me a sample. This is just like,
Yeah.
this is just for my knowledge, just for my satisfaction, but I am giving you an order. And with MOQs as well. So I think MOQs, I'm sure this also applies to like different industries, but with fabric and with textiles. So the machines make a certain amount in one lot, right? And a lot of manufacturers only sell you lot wise. So we've had to tweak our inventories and our production order quantities because let's say he'll only one roll is let's say 20 kgs. Right? But we only need 18. You still have to get the other two.
Yeah.
Things like that. It applies to everything. It applies to fabric. It applies to your garment making and stitching. Also applies to your packaging. But that's what also is reasonable for the manufacturer, for your vendors. And so sometimes you have to find mid ground. You have to be a little compromising, adjustable, a little flexible with those things. But yeah.
It wasn't more like an 18 and 20. It was more like 100 to 300 jump.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But okay, fine, fair enough. Let's divert away from the product for a bit. What else? Right? Okay, designing the product, you found manufacture, it's happening. That's process. It's a long process. You keep sampling, you get it. Whatever. Forget about that aspect. What else is happening? How else are you setting up your business?
So we're completely online. We're completely D2C. We're completely online. We only sell through our own website, our own platform. And so the idea was obviously to build a website that can do that, can be our primary and not primary, the sole touch point for customers. So we started working on the website really early on. It took us a while to get the website up to the mark that we wanted it. But I mean, for me personally as well, like I suffer from a curious case of OCD. So like everything needs to be perfect. Everything needs to be streamlined, optimized. The customer experience needs to be the best. How can they purchase something? How can they view something with the fewest amount of clicks? How can you maximize their click to conversion ratio? Things like that, right? So then we started focusing on the website really early on. I think the second we got our domain and we had our branding done, the next step was building the website. So we actually built a website on WordPress earlier, and then we ported it over to Shopify later on. We just wanted to be a slightly more streamlined platform on the back end. But yeah, so we built the website. We had our social media handles. We set up all our customer communication mediums.
So in terms of like the website, so what was like the original decision to start with WordPress? And like, how did you go about researching between like which platforms to use? There's WordPress, there's Wix, there's Squarespace, there's
Right.
Shopify, and all their pricings are pretty different and cater to
Yeah.
different audiences.
So
Honestly, pricing wasn't the main aspect. We
Yeah.
wanted to give the customer the best experience, and honestly, we both were clueless new to this. Asking the person we're working with for our website, we were referred to WordPress given how many customizations we wanted on our website.
Yeah.
But again, in today's day and age, Shopify is super friendly. And again, I would vouch for anyone, whoever's starting any kind of brand or any kind of website, they should opt for Shopify. The backend super friendly. WordPress, on the other hand, allowed us to tweak it a little bit more, do a few more things. But like I said, the lag time was maybe a little issue for
If
us.
you could go back in time, what would you choose?
Shopify.
yeah.
Any day.
Yeah.
Anyone
I
out there
think
starting a brand, please go for Shopify.
So WordPress is significantly cheaper than Shopify. But yeah, do Shopify. At least we prefer Shopify. WordPress is the WordPress backend just reminds me of Windows 98.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Like it is very Windows 98 like.
WordPress works if you have someone working it for you. You cannot make WordPress work for yourself if you're not technical, if you don't know coding, etc.
Yeah, 100%. And I think at least for me, I'm a very tech savvy person, but like just logging into WordPress on the back end was just like I just want to log out instantly.
If he doesn't like the aesthetic of the login, he'll probably ditch it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
a very aesthetic person. Like
Yeah, it's not called tech savvy. It's called, it's again about your love for a good UI UX experience, but it's
but my point was if a tech savvy person like me also finds it difficult to
Yeah.
navigate, anyone who's maybe not as tech savvy
Yeah.
as me.
I mean, WordPress is not made for an end user. It's not made for the founder or like a marketing person
Yeah.
to manage.
Yeah,
WordPress is
100%.
made for a developer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So
Shopify, on the other hand, is anyone.
Shopify, you can start a business from home overnight and build a platform on Shopify, and you'll be good from the get go. It's that easy to get it done. But yeah, so we obviously ported from WordPress to Shopify. That caused a bit of a delay, which we're fine with because we do think it was adding that quality to us, and that it was improving our user experience as well, front and back, significantly. So we just thought it was a good decision. We went ahead with that. And
What is the thing you're proudest of on your website?
I mean, there's one thing that the website's yet missing, and I'd like to add it.
Sure, tell us that.
It's a moving logo.
Okay,
So
yeah.
we have like a custom animated logo. We need to get that on our website somehow. So yes, that's in the process too.
I think like something to remember, I guess, is like when you start, you want to like if you haven't launched it yet, you want everything to be perfect,
Yeah.
like the way you want it to be forever.
all right, yeah. So
But you don't think that okay, you can add that like 2 months into launch as well. Like no one's gonna be like, damn.
right. So I think one mistake that we made, and I think it also stems from me,
Yeah.
is that I'm also a perfectionist. Where I was like, oh, this needs to be perfect. My
Yeah.
OCD needs to be satisfied, and only then we can go to market. Only then we can launch. And I would say that's maybe not the best approach. At least in some cases, I would say get an MVP. Make sure things are good enough. Enough being the key word. Make sure things are good enough. Launch, test the waters, and then improve on yourself. It's not trial and error. It's trial and improvement.
Yeah.
going to building like a D2C brand from scratch, and I guess focusing it on being online, like completely online. We started with the design of your brand. We reached with like the overall ethos of it.
Right.
We then went to the name and branding. Then it was like, I guess before that was like finding your correct manufacturers and your fabrics. Then it came the e-commerce bit, which was the setting up of the website and like the mistakes that went along with that. Now you have like your website, you have your product, you have your design. Another thing would probably be packaging. So how did you go into that, like finding the right thing? And again, like your main offering to someone is your piece. So you already have a cost associated with that. Packaging, surprisingly, is really expensive. But you also want to give that experience to the consumer of like, okay, fine, like you're purchasing something from us, we're going to give you an experience outside just of wearing that outfit. So how did you balance between getting the right packaging for you and the cost associated with it?
I mean, when it came to packaging, again, we were super blessed. It was a friend of ours that whose factory we worked with. In fact, he does a lot of packaging for multiple brands around India. It wasn't, I mean, coming up with the kind of shape, again, the octagon is again a part of the package. Coming up with a box that's viable took us some time, but I mean, his design team was amazing. It took some trial and error. We came up with it. But again, packaging for us, it holds a significant cost. But I believe, as you said, creating a D2C brand, it's one of the first impressions someone has of your brand. So the packaging's got to be top notch. That's something we won't try to compromise on at all.
So yeah,
and in fact, again, with clothing and packaging, it was a journey of learning for us. The people we worked with, they actually showed us the whole process. We were taken into the factory, how step by step, from choosing the right color to choosing the finish to how it's cut and everything. We were shown every step before we went forward.
So to add to that, I think one of the coolest things we came across was that there's just like this machine that's like a sensor which you can place on any object and it'll pick up the color to the closest Pantone, and then you'll have a machine that'll tell you exactly the quantity of each paint you need to mix to create that color at the end. And then we literally were just playing around with it. We were literally tapping on different surfaces and creating paint of exactly that color, and we were just having that swatched on paper, and that's how we essentially reached the exact color like we wanted, and also for different things. I think a key point with packaging is that we at times saw that we were getting carried away with the design aspect of it. You also need to look at functionality, and next, how efficient is it from like a volumetric perspective. You don't want to have a box that's like half of it is air, and essentially you're just paying shipping prices for air. So you want to be as efficient as possible, as concise as possible, and practical and functional is obviously what you need. And then, you'd also maintain the packaging structural integrity. You should not get damaged in shipping. So managing all those things, a lot of trial and error, sampling, prototyping there as well, and then we eventually reached the box that we gave you guys today.
One of the things we might have missed so far is, yes, we're talking about all the, let's say, front-facing aspects of the business.
Yeah.
But speaking about, the legal aspects of a business, you need to register a company, to talk about trademarking, etc., etc. So, I guess the first thing that people do with a D2C brand in that regard is register a domain. Right? You think of a name, you go and register a domain.
Yeah, that was the first step.
But then what?
Okay, so how we did, so once we knew we had a name, we registered the domain .com. Once we got the .com, we're like, okay, so this name is ours. We registered a company with the same name. So we had a legal entity. And
who registered it for you?
So we had a CA. So we hired a CA through our network as well, and he's been super helpful. We were super helpful, and
how long did the process take to like register?
So from what we hear, is usually the registration process of any legal entity, whether it's an LLP or a company, which is usually shorter, maybe like a month, or we're talking 2 months at the most, I guess. But for our for our case, I think at the time the MCA website was going through a revamp, and then
No, the MCA website, the MCA portal is always going through a revamp. It's
yeah.
always messed up.
Okay.
Whoever told you 1 to 2 months is like ridiculously short. 2 to 3 months is minimum.
Yeah. So it took us 4 months.
Yeah, 2 to 3 months is minimum.
Yeah. So it took us 4 months to register an LLP, essentially, not even a private limited. So we did that. So we got our entity done, and once we had an entity, we also started using accounting softwares and inventory management softwares on
Name
a
a few.
on a back. So we use Zoho. That's ZOHO. So we use Zoho Books, Zoho Inventory. They also integrate with our website, and it's all pretty seamless. It's all integrated. It's all straightforward. So we had a legal entity. We did that. So we had an entity at this point. So we have our PAN, our TAN, all of that. We got a GST number, so we registered for GST.
Why did you register for a GST?
Why did we register for GST? Because we knew this was a long-term project. We knew we wanted to do this, and at least for the foreseeable future. And so we just wanted to be good from the get-go, and then we just got a GST number.
Are there any like benefits of getting it early on?
Oh, of course. I mean, it depends. The rule of getting a only once you cross a business of 20 years. And of course, yes, you get benefits because GST has to be paid to your manufacturers.
Yeah.
When you acquire your cloth, when you do any kind of thing, GST is paid. So it was beneficial, of course.
You get a refund or not?
You get a
You get a
rebate.
rebate.
So you only get a rebate when you have the GST number, or you get it regardless?
No, so you only get a rebate when you have it. So GST essentially the tax that's supposed to be paid by the end consumer.
Yeah.
Right? And since we're middlemen, so we procure from people below us, from people before us, and then we serve the people after us, we get a rebate.
So you only get that rebate basically because you have
on sales made, etc.
So when you purchase something, you get a tax credit, and then when you sell something, you get a rebate against tax credit.
So that's a massive.
Right,
Like,
and as per our forecast initially, also we were pretty confident that we would cross the 20 lakh sales mark in our first year. So it just made sense to do it from the get go. Yes, it has higher compliances, so it is slightly tougher to do than a non-GST business. But it just made sense. So we got a GST number. We also registered for an Udyam certificate under the MSME, which provides benefits to the MSME entities. A lot of legal costs, a lot of government costs. You get benefits on them. So we were advised to do that as well from our CA, which is great advice. Because we did that, we filed for a trademark after that, and we paid half of the regular price for the trademark just because we were an MSME registered entity. And registering for the MSME is free. So we did that as well. So we filed for the trademark, and we're hoping that is granted. It was still pending, but
I think that takes a while.
Yeah,
it takes up to 18 months sometimes.
Yeah, so you have to wait. So you have to wait an approximate 6-month period for people to object. If no one objects, then you get it granted. So when you file and once it's approved, I believe you can put a TM in a superscript next to your name, and then once it's finally approved and there's been no objections, you can put like an R in a circle. That's like a registered trademark. So we filed for a trademark. So on the legal side, we did all of these things. We obviously had our partnership deed, drafts, all that stuff made. For bank accounts, we had board resolutions.
That was the biggest bloody headache.
Which is a common practice for any entity if you want to form.
Cool. So you all have the brand, the product, the distribution, and now the legal stuff done, which means you all are approaching launch phase. Mm-hmm. And before you get to launch, what are the things you have to think about? So what all did you all do leading up to your launch?
Just before launch, we had to make sure we had a product shoot done. So we arranged for a product shoot, how we wanted to shoot everything, the aesthetic we wanted for our social media and for our website. Our first touch point was to introduce the brand at Curious Design Year 2023 in Goa. So we were participating there as one of the participating brands. We made a one-time giveaway shirt, jacket, which is what I'm wearing, the black one. We made this as a one-time KDY, Design Yatra, limited piece. And so that was our first launch.
Which, by the way, was a big hit. Like, people loved the jacket that you're wearing. It was a great design.
Thank you.
and unfortunately, I still don't have one.
Yeah, you'll get one by the end of the podcast. Yeah, so we made this as a limited design yatra jacket, and which was like our first launch
First
activity.
consumer touch point.
First consumer touch point, the first thing on our launch calendar. Since then, we amped up our social media. We were more active on social media, giving snippets of our brand, introducing the brand, introducing the idea, the logos, all that kind of stuff, and eventually running into essentially a countdown to when the website opens. Yeah, and then maybe this entire process was maybe like 2 months, let's say, give or take. But for those 2 months, we were open with friends and family, which is great. Which also helped us to understand early feedback. If we need to tweak something, if we should be prepared to hear anything from people who are actually from complete strangers, completely organic customers who are actually paying for our product. So that helped, and yeah, so we had a social media countdown towards the launch, and then now we're completely open.
Was it helpful to have a soft launch, like to only cater to a few people, or just that design yatra, and then now have your website open to the public?
So yes, I think we completely benefited from the soft launch. We had design yatra, then we had the soft launch for friends and family. We also understood, like I said earlier, we understood product feedback, but we also learned on how to manage operations on the back end. How can we streamline from the point from when someone places an order to when they actually get the order.
Because logistics for a D2C brand is like the most
If
important.
there's
100%.
one thing I could go back in time and change about this whole launch thing was more of storytelling. As founders, as a brand, I think giving your audience the back end, a lot of the behind the scenes when it comes, not the photo shoot, I mean everything as a whole, your factory tours, I think that's super important. That helps build a more authentic relationship with your audience, and they actually see what's happening. That's something we could have done a little bit more, and that's something we should have touched down on. I mean, we're going to be doing that a lot more in the future. That's a part of the plan.
Yeah, because we take a lot of pride in how we make things, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to convey that to the end customer.
And I think as a consumer, you get attached to the brand, like the entire. If you see the hard work someone puts behind the scenes, you just automatically feel a little more attached.
Ideally,
Right, yeah.
D2C is a lot of storytelling.
Yeah.
Primarily, it's not about your logos. I mean, your logo it should look good, but even if it's not the best, your product is good. It's about how you storytell. It's about how the audience resonates with what you're making, especially when you're making a D2C brand.
Yeah.
In today's day and age.
It's a conversation starter, right? Like you're
Yes.
saying, like there's like your seams are different or your shoulders are different. It's like, okay, when I see someone wearing it, like I meet on with someone, I see it, I'm like, oh my god, this is from you, and you have a conversation out of it. So it's like building that sense of community, because it's like only those people are gonna resonate with that story.
Yeah, going back, soft launch helped us. We streamlined a lot of our operations on the back end. We reduced the turnaround time from order to delivery. Also figure out on how we should do things. And so yeah, that definitely helped us, because if you want to make a mistake with friends and family, right?
Yeah.
Because they might forgive you the first time. Someone else might not.
Has there been anything that we've missed in the entire process of starting a D2C brand? Anything from your personal
I
experiences?
think one of the things we could talk about a little more is the photo shoot. Putting that together is not a small task,
Yeah.
right? And especially in today's day, with the number of D2C brands and like just how many photo shoots happen, it's not cheap anymore either, right? Freelancers charge a lot. Then you have, so with a brand like yours, talk us through the process. Who all were there? What did it cost you to put together?
So
The photo shoot is, again, first we got a stylist on board, again, who's a friend. We made some kind of a mood board with her. It took us a little back and forth. We did some recce's. First, we were planning an outdoor shoot, but we couldn't find the right location for the kind of vibe we wanted to give it. So, ideally, a studio was the best option for us. We had a stylist on board. After that, we had to scout the models, which we again took our take on, and getting the right photographer, the right lighting. I mean, that's again be taken care of by the photographer. The cost was significantly high. If we could go back in time and change a few things about the shoot, we would have. But I mean, the output was good.
That's for next time. You know it for next time now.
Of course.
And what would be those things that you would
Staying more in the room during the shoot rather than just being around and making sure everything's fine. We've got to get people for that probably. Just be in the room, watch every shot.
Yeah,
Because
having,
at the end of the day, it's the brand owner's view,
Yeah.
and it's like I said, storytelling. It's what we want to be out there. If we were ideally more present during the shoot, and we were on screen with the photographer, telling him what angle we were there, but it should have been a little bit more.
having one set of eyes on the final outcome at all times significantly helps, no matter where you apply this.
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah. Because then you can't do anything once it's all done.
100%.
Yeah. Once you committed, right? And there's nothing else you can do after that. So, yeah.
A lot of things that y'all have done is from your network. That's interesting. Like it's always been a friend's something or a family.
I mean, yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
we're super
No,
grateful.
but that's
with
really
everything.
cool that
Yes.
you're also like approaching people like that. Because I think again, like when you start, there's a lot of costs associated in general. But like having that someone already helps in the sense of trust. Like you already know, okay, fine,
Yeah.
that you're gonna get a good output at the end of it.
Trust is the key factor, and also I'm the kind of person. This is my personal belief. I'd rather work with a friend and give business to a friend than give to someone I don't know.
And it's just that whole like networking aspect in India, especially. I think a lot is done through people versus how much ever you want it to be online. I don't think it's reached that just yet.
I don't think so. I think because I mean it's as easy as like when you need help, just like picking up the phone and telling someone, hey, listen, I need help with this. You
Yeah.
know someone,
Yeah.
and it's literally just that easy. It's honestly easier than going on Google and going to like the fifth page of Google
Yeah.
and then calling up one phone number which might not even get through. So yeah, and besides when you ask for, I think when you ask for help or when you use your network, the people that you get referred to like already carry like a stamp of approval, right?
Yeah.
So you feel comfortable, and yeah, I guess
You
that's,
also need to know the right people to ask. Like the person you're asking for help, that hey, do you know someone in this space, needs to be
yeah.
someone you think is of sound mind to actually.
Yeah, because that way, like we've said earlier, like we've been pretty fortunate and privileged to have that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so we haven't touched pricing at all.
Yeah.
So how did you go about that shoot? Like, okay, you have your cost of the product, you have your cost of packaging and all the other logistics that play in. What was your
And if you're
path in
comfortable,
pricing?
put numbers to it.
Yeah.
Tell us your landed cost, margin.
So with pricing, there are two different. There's like a blend of two different approaches we took. One is the segment you want to sit in, the brands that you want to, so like brands that offer a similar quality, offer a similar product essentially. So you want to be competitive with them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that is one half of it. The second half of it is how much value we think the product is worth. You know what I mean? Like if we put in like a little too much effort or significantly more effort into one item than the other, then that item will be priced higher, right? It might, because cost isn't just monetary, it isn't just financial, right?
Yeah.
It's the effort you put into it, it's the countless hours you put into it, right? So it's a blend of two. It's where we want to position ourselves, plus with how much effort went into that and how much value we think that product actually holds. And overall, on the pricing for the kind of quality we offer, I think we're pretty competitive.
Given that India is a super price sensitive market.
Very.
Yeah, India's a price
Given-
sensitive market.
It's never gonna change.
Oh,
Yeah.
never. And
I-
given the fact that your customer wants everything now, like for instance, someone buying a t-shirt on the website, the Indian consumer's mentality is like they want it now. So you got to make sure it delivers on time. It gives them the right, they're satisfied with the quality, and also the return rates are super high. I mean, we've not touched that point yet, but the return rates in India are super high from what we know.
There are brands that are breaking that mold. March, for example, one of our mutually loved brands.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about like when they're gonna ship it out.
Yeah.
They tell you like when you're placing the order, they're like you're placing it today. Like today is what, I think March 28th. They'll tell you ships mid-April.
Yeah.
Ships mid-April. So you're like, okay, fine. You know what? For 15 days, I can't even think about receiving this
Right.
package.
Yeah.
They've broken out of that mold. The Pan project, when you buy anything from the Pan project, it's pretty big D2C brand. So they tell you that, hey, it's going to be stitched and then brought to you. So you wait 15 days minimum. Yes, people want a package soon
Yeah.
enough. But if you communicate it well enough, there are brands that have broken out of that mold and
Yeah.
are shipping
Yeah.
much later. Like they've been able to do it. And I know for a fact that March and the Pan project both are very
Yeah.
successful.
In fact, when you have a draw like that,
Yeah.
when you're able to draw
Yeah.
That's
people and
very
sales
rare,
like
I
that,
think.
dude,
It
that's
is, it is.
yeah.
That's why I
It's,
said
it's
there are
probably the
few
best.
brands that have
It's probably the
broken out
best
of
way
it.
to do it. It's definitely the most. It's definitely the easiest cash flow way to do
Yeah.
it. But yeah, but then you need
It's
to build.
tough.
Because
It is
That
tough,
also
but you need to-
requires a loyal audience who's ready and
Yeah.
patient to wait
Yeah,
for
you
the
need to build a base and a
product.
community for
Yes.
that. And once you do it, then that's the best way to that's the best way to draw sales.
For
It's
new
the
businesses,
easiest cash flow.
dealing with the Indian consumer, you gotta be super.
Because you're competing with other people, right?
In India, you
Yeah.
always choose a COD.
But now,
Yeah.
Pay on cash on delivery.
but now they've switched it, right? Where it gets more expensive when you do COD.
It's a little bit more, but
So by the way, for like side note, we charge more for cash on delivery.
Yeah.
Because it costs us more for cash on delivery.
Yeah.
And with cash on delivery, the customer always has the right to just
To return it,
to-
yeah.
to just refuse collecting it, and then
Yeah.
that way I don't make a sale, but I pay for shipping the going
Yeah.
that way and for a return shipping, right? So then I pay for shipping twice, but I don't make a sale on it. So it does cost us more and potentially can cost us significantly more. So yes, we do charge higher for cash on delivery, and I think most people are just following the same idea and they're charging more.
but that's a standard touch point. I mean,
Mart charges.
They do-
They
they
charge
do.
more.
Most, I think every
They charge
platform
you-
that I've ordered
they-
from
yeah.
recently, they all have more
no,
for
this
cash.
was super
Yeah.
funny. You'll have to hear this out. So last week I think I'm traveling soon. So whenever I'm asleep on the flight, my neck gets a little iffy. So I saw this cool travel pillow online and I called for it, and the price point was like super nice. I'm like, okay, it really looked good in the picture. Like I wasn't that concerned about the price. The second I called for like on cash on delivery because it was some random website. Got an ad on Instagram, placed the order. I paid the guy. The second I opened the package, I was like, wow, I've got catfished. it was bad, and there was no returns. And turns out the company had no return policy. So it's super important to read the return policy too. And many, I mean, at least we think this is fair to the consumer. When someone returns us a COD order, they still get a refund. Many brands will just give you credits into their
Yeah.
Yeah.
into their store to get something else. Which also, I mean, everyone has their own viewpoint too.
Like
We chose the approach where someone can have their money back.
I think you're still early on where you need to build trust, right? So to
Yeah.
encourage people to buy something, you rather have that, okay, fine, we'll give your money back. Because at least they're trying it, and then you are
Absolutely.
hoping that they love
Dude,
it.
like even with Wish.com essentially built a new revenue stream by just like because Wish.com sells for really cheap. A lot of orders are catfish orders, they're scam.
Yeah.
You don't actually receive the item that you want. Sometimes you don't receive the item at all. But because the prices are so cheap, and for you to follow up with them to get a
someone
refund,
there.
a lot of people just let it be, right?
Yeah.
And then that is a new revenue stream for them. And I'm pretty sure they're unapologetic about it as well. So.
But coming back to what you all said about having a very, let's say, consumer-friendly return policy, one of the models that I was toying around with when we were like really focusing on our D2C brand was a hold now, pay later model. So the thing is, most people look at buy now, pay later. Most
Right,
other
yeah.
people look at EMI options, etc.
Yeah.
Thing is, 1,500 rupee t-shirt. Very few people are going to think about like, oh, should I EMI this or like
Yeah.
whatever, like even consider any kind of instant loan on it. But the whole now pay later idea came from the idea that when you go to a hotel, you give your credit card at check-in, or when you're booking a hotel online, you enter your details and you get a message saying this amount has been held on your card. Your card hasn't been charged.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's just being held. That much credit limit is being
So it's
held.
like an escrow essentially.
It's like an escrow. One of the ideas that I had was, okay, now let's say my brand had a 7-day return policy. So when you buy a product from me, the day you get it delivered, right? So once you buy it, the charge is held on your card. From the day it delivers, plus 7 days, it'll be held. On the 8th day is when it'll be charged. In those 7 days, at any point, if you place a return request, as soon as we collect the parcel, that hold will be released. So the idea of doing this is, one, you need to find a solid payment gateway partner that's going to be able to
Oh
do
yeah,
this.
yeah.
But there are a few that we'd spoken to back when that said that we can try and figure this out. But two, the idea would be that like nothing is more trustworthy than, hey, okay, it's just a hold on my card. I'm not even being charged for this product.
That is a cool approach, but I also feel making sure you retain your item back safe and sound with everything. Like just, I mean,
So you release the hold only after you've collected the parcel.
And you see
no, but
whether
you
it's
gotta
good enough.
run it through QC, whether it's used, not used, are the labels intact?
But that's something that's a consequence of a return policy in general.
Yeah,
That's
fair
got nothing
enough.
to do with this model.
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah.
There's a lot of nonsense when it comes
Yeah.
to anything to do with financial, especially like in India with RBI guidelines. But I think if you can figure it out, it's just a new model to try.
So another thing that we were stuck with in the middle was that the RBI was auditing like your major payment gateway providers, and
Yeah.
So because of that, we were struggling for a couple of months. We were lying in limbo because we really
Yeah.
had no way to collect payments because no one was onboarding.
Yeah.
They were only operating with their current customers, but there was no onboarding going on. So that was a long wait, a lot of emails going back and forth, a lot of phone calls, and then we
A
eventually...
lot of disputes with our payment gateways.
Yeah. And
Actually, we are with River.
we're not going to name the...
We with
We had a bad experience with one payment
Yeah.
gateway
Yeah,
provider.
but who
That's
is now?
We are with Razorpay right now and very happy with it.
super happy.
So yeah, now moving on to our next game, which is Two Truths and One Lie. So to understand a little bit more about your personal journey and also with Ostrano, we're going to play this game. Whether it's challenges or achievements, you have to give us 3 statements from which 2 are true and 1 is a lie. And then we have to guess, or more, I have to guess which one is a lie.
Ostrano was originally supposed to be an artistic furniture brand. We ditched our to be the flagship product we believed in. That actually took us 6 months in the process. We had any of our product designs before we had any of our branding ready.
Okay, I'm going to say that the lie is the first one. That was supposed to be a furniture thing, given that it was a conversation in your house. But I don't know whether... What?
Should we date you?
Yeah.
That's
Oh, are you making any guesses? Or
No, I'm
you know
sorry.
the thing. Oh, okay.
That is
Okay,
the
that
lie.
was easy. Yeah.
Okay, yay! But so interesting, like your flagship product. What was that product that you did?
It was actually making a different kind of collar. We came up with the idea of making an octagonal collar.
Yeah.
And we actually, 6 months out of the 1 year that we've taken to start was just sampling for this collar, man. And we just ditched it by the end of it because it wasn't quite sitting right. I mean, we're yet working on it. Someday, it'll be out someday. That's the plan.
Okay.
But yeah, essentially octagonal shaped collar. It's something super different. It looks super cool whether you layer it with a jacket or anything at all. Just that it wasn't sitting right. Getting, like I said, clothes fitting right is super important. They might not look, but they fit you well, you'll wear them.
So yeah, now your
All right.
3 statements.
I sleep to a podcast every night. The only book I ever read is the first Harry Potter book, and I believe Apple Music is better than Spotify.
I'm gonna say, the answer to this as well.
No, I'm confused about the second and third one. I know the first one's true.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, I'm gonna say the second one. That the only book you've read is Harry Potter. Maybe you've read more books or you haven't read any. Or it can be a different book altogether. So I'm gonna say.
yeah.
So you think that's a lie?
Yeah.
Alright, and you think the same thing, or are you guys different answers, same answer?
Yeah, same one. Same.
Oh yeah, that's correct. I've read a few more books, a couple more books, but yeah.
Which podcast do you listen to when you sleep? If
So
it's not Breaking Uneven. I'm kidding.
is-
That you should watch and listen
No,
to.
so
on
it
your
is
The
own.
last
Yeah.
3 days I've been hearing a lot of breaking uneven.
So I sleep to so I'm also a big sports fanatic.
Yeah.
Right? So I listen to a lot of sports podcasts.
Yeah.
So my favorite kind of podcast is a conversational podcast, like the classic Rogan, where there's no topic, but you just talk.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything.
Any.
YouTube recommends me. I've followed so many that I just get one
Yeah.
podcast.
Essentially, what Kabir likes to do, just talk.
And what was the third one you
He
said?
thinks Apple Music is
Apple
better.
Music. Yeah.
Better than,
Yeah.
I was going to say Shopify, then I was going to Spotify.
No, we
And
spoke
that-
about Apple Music before. That's why.
No,
I mean, I guess he sticks to Apple Music because he doesn't
Did we speak about Apple Music?
like right now about renewing payments. You were like,
oh,
it's
yeah,
significant.
oh, yeah, damn.
No, but the thing is, he's also the kind of person that will use it because it's in the ecosystem. But
Ecosystem.
Yeah.
honestly, bro, Spotify is better.
That's why my statement was, I think.
Yeah.
Apple Music is better than
But
Spotify.
even that you also think that Spotify is better. It's just that
For
Apple
me,
is
Apple
better.
Music is better for me.
Ah,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I mean,
personal
It's the same
opinion.
with me. I prefer Apple Music,
Yeah,
but I
but-
know Spotify.
Yeah, I know we're
Yeah.
big ecosystem people, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, yeah. Same.
Yeah, we copy on our Mac, paste it on our phone. So easy.
Oh, bro. Changes the game.
Cool. So let's come to our next game. This one's called Red Flags. What we're going to do is we're going to give you 3 hypothetical situations. In each situation, there are 2 things that are going great and 1 that's not so great. And these are rapid for you. So you need to choose which of these 3 situations you'd rather be in. And whichever situation you choose, you're accepting the 2 good and the bad of that situation.
Cool.
I'll read it out and then we'll give you one iPad to refer to.
Alright, cool.
Cool. So situation 1 is that Ostrano is selling in over three countries. You are currently in operating profit, but your largest budget photo shoot till date goes horribly. Situation 2 is Ostrano has built a community across social media. You have more than 50 products in your catalog, but one of you has to leave the brand abruptly. And situation 3 is Ostrano now has over 30 employees. Your silhouettes are nominated for multiple fashion design awards, but your monthly cash flow has never been less. Okay,
Three.
So we'll say 1, 2, and 3, right? Whichever.
Yeah, whichever.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
1.
One.
Okay.
I was right.
Yeah.
I mean,
So he thought you were gonna choose situation 3, and I said situation 1.
yeah. No, 3 would have been great. Honestly, that's
More
what's
of
getting me a
Kabir,
little bit, yeah.
but yeah, when it comes to both of us, number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, fair. Tell me why.
Number one, of course, because fixing a photo shoot is not a problem. You can always have another one, man.
Yeah.
Like you can have
And
a
you're
bad
a profit.
photo shoot. At least you're an operating profit. At least you're globally recognized in more than one country, and I think that's super important.
And another easier we knew it was on because we've already had big photos go wrong. So,
Not really, but yeah.
The biggest one, yeah. Or not.
well, let's see.
Well, the reason I thought situation 3 y'all might have chosen is because, like, to a certain extent, sure, monthly cash flow has never been worse, but like cash flow is something that if the other two are happening, then that's something that will probably get solved.
I was probably, if I was thinking from a very, very individualistic perspective, I would have said 3.
Today's day and age, just not creating a startup is not important. Creating a business is also important.
Yeah.
Something that's sustainable for the next 10 to
Yeah.
20 years.
100%. But I also think that
There are
Give-
great people, there are great designs, there are great things, but they're not necessarily profitable or recognized.
Correct, but I'm saying the difference between situation 1 and 3 is the scale, right? You might currently be in operating profit even today, but today there's 2 employees. So
Yeah.
reaching operating profit with 2
But
employees.
that's
100%.
what would stress me out. That I'm not in, like, my monthly cash flow is not good, but I have 30 employees to pay.
Yeah.
You get what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's fine.
Like,
You've still reached a certain scale. So again, depends on
Yeah,
whether
the
you're
way
looking
you're
after
looking at it, yeah.
current this
Besides, I
thing.
think when you also have people working with you, people working for you, I think you're also responsible for their
Yeah.
livelihood. Right? I think
Yeah.
okay, but yeah, our final segment is called Rapid Fire. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask all questions, quick and rapid answers and short answers. I'll say the name before so you all know which ones are.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question. Kabir, how many days of leave have you taken in the last year?
I mean, days of leave ever taken in the last year?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no
Can
idea.
I
It's-
answer?
Maybe,
Sure, yeah.
maybe like nights of leave none, but days of leave all.
For sure.
No, I mean, look, man, like it's
But then that's like he works.
Yeah.
So that works.
yeah. When something needs to get done, it's done.
Okay, but now I want to hear your perspective. How many days of leave has he taken?
I mean, like I'm not said, all the days, just nights on.
Which is fine, that's fair enough.
I mean, as long as he gets
Get
the work done.
yeah.
But the world operates in the day and not the night. That's a little, we're always a day late, maybe sometimes with some stuff. But I mean, as long as the job gets done.
You should work a remote job in the US, dude. You would kill it.
Yeah.
He's living in the US time zone.
then I'd have no time for myself then. Like when will I watch my podcast or sleep?
He's living in the US time zone.
Wait, so you're listening to the podcast during the day while you're sleeping, essentially. Given that you're working at night.
Nah.
But okay, Pranay, what was your proudest moment with Ostrano?
I think the first time I actually felt good about it was at Curious Design Yatra when we got lovely feedback from people who weren't friends and
Yeah.
family.
So the first outside feedback.
Yes, because
Yeah.
you know, many a
Good
times,
example.
I mean, we've had super transparent friends and family who said, okay, you can tweak this a little bit. But when you hear an outsider's perspective, they don't owe you anything. They'll be
Correct,
completely
correct.
blunt. And I mean, that review was great and that actually brought a smile to my face.
Yeah, I think to add to that as well, like 'cause
Even if it was like 15 people giving me good reviews, I'm like, okay, wow, at least there's an audience of 15 people who like what we're doing.
Yeah, I think we were giving away the jackets. We were giving away the jackets that I'm wearing like in a bag, in like a gift bag. And everyone's like, no, we don't want it in the bag. We want to wear it out of the room.
And we saw them wear it at the after party. It was great.
Nice.
It was great.
Okay. Kabir, what was one time you felt like you let Ostrano down?
Well, I mean, the irregular schedule's obviously been a big thing. But one time I let Ostrano down, I think was when we spoke earlier about, when the Two Truths in One Life, we spoke earlier about the flagship product we wanted to make. That's the thing I was probably the proud of the most.
And not being able to figure it out for long.
And I figured out, I think more than what people said was there to be figured out, but I just don't think I don't think we made an MVP out of it. So, yeah.
Pranay, what's your favorite Ostrano product?
The white oversized t-shirt.
Okay. Kabir, what is the scrappiest thing that you've done to build your business?
I can answer this for you.
Oh, I go.
Warehousing at home.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, dude. So OCD freak. Everything in my room needs to be spick, span, clean, everything. But my room was a bloody go down for such a long time, and it took a
For
lot.
the first whole year, his room was. Now we have an
Yeah,
office
like-
space, but his room was a good.
Yeah, like I was actually happy to switch the lights off.
Luckily, it wasn't mine, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
Pranay, what was your emotion when you for your first sale?
It felt good. Yeah. I mean, it felt good. It felt great. Finally, just making your own money. It feels great, and especially given the fact that we come from privileged backgrounds and we've got stuff relatively easier compared to someone else. I would say it feels good. Making your own money and then spending your own money it does feel a little different versus when you're just given it.
Yeah. Kabir, what will you do with your first salary?
I'll probably reimburse like family members who pay for things for me.
Nice.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Pranay, books or podcasts?
Podcast.
Kabir, iPad or notebook?
Surprisingly, notebook.
Okay. Pranay, are you a morning person or a night owl? We already know.
I can do both. I'm super flexible.
Okay. That's also rare and a privilege.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's a lot of coffee.
But I know that about him. He does have.
He can pull it both. Yeah. Kabir, your favorite social media platform?
Does none count? No.
Okay, yeah.
No, social media platform. Controversial, but you know how a lot of times Instagram gives you like those little threads, snippets, and something interesting to click on it. I've been browsing threads quite a bit recently.
Oh.
I like it's very much like Twitter, but it's slightly more like visual. So I actually enjoy threads.
Kabir is super
Nice. That's the
abstract.
first time we've got
Yeah,
threads.
threads. Yeah.
He's an abstract guy again.
Actually, you can also answer this. Your favorite social media platform?
Pranay is Instagram.
Instagram.
Instagram. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Conventional,
you always see that green dot next to his name.
I think maximum of our answers are probably
Basic.
Sorry, Instagram. Yeah. Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. That I would say is the top three.
Wait, YouTube counts?
Yes.
If YouTube counts, YouTube, if not threads.
Yeah. So yeah, that concludes our rapid fire segment, almost bringing us to the end of the podcast.
Mhm.
We ask every guest to ask our next guest a question. So now our previous guest is going to ask you.
If you could give yourself advice from 5 years ago on how to change your approach to what you've built today, what would that be? And what advice would you give your future self 5 years from now?
The advice I'd give myself 5 years ago as opposed to what I'm doing today. I was doing something else altogether 5 years ago. 5 years ago, probably I was working in one of my family ventures, that's logistics. I would just say, I'm happy I started early on, but I would say test the waters, keep trying. I felt like I could have tried a little bit more and before giving up on some things. Like you said, I've explored 3 or 4 things before this. Just try a little more harder, man. Like you never know, the last day you're about to give up on something could be the day things are ready to change.
Yeah, that's
Just
solid advice. Well,
And advice to my future self is just be good at one thing. Just do what you're doing. Stay consistent. Be regular, and one day you'll just wake up and be like, okay, wow, made something great.
Yeah.
nice.
What about you?
5 years ago would be work actively on building a routine and a schedule. So that does help, I think, increase not just productivity, but I think general quality of life. And
It's never
advice.
too late, though.
Huh?
It's never too late.
Oh yeah, never too late. Yeah, but I was saying I hope I knew that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I actually believed in it as much.
It would have been easier 5 years ago.
100%, yeah. And advice I would give my future self is don't lose the love to still keep on learning and don't stop asking questions.
That's one thing I'd like to thank Kabir for what I've learned from him. Is if you I'm the kind of person where I can't figure something out myself. I'll pick up my call and just be like, okay, dude, I need an expert for this. Working with him actually taught me that okay, you can do things by yourself. Just take the time to learn it, and I'm actually doing that right now. And it actually helped me a lot.
Nice.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Sick. Cool. So that's the end of our conversation, guys. Thank you so much
Thank
for.
Thank you for having us, guys. We really appreciate it. And yeah.
Use the
chill.
code breakinguneven on Ostrano and you'll
Yeah,
get
if you made it this far, if you use breaking uneven 30, you get 30% off.
Oh, damn. I was joking.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.